All right, to do this little modification, you're going to need a momentary switch. Momentary switches are ones that you push down and don't stay. So having a momentary switch is kind of nice because you can just push it, reel it in, push it, reel it out. Pretty simple. I'm going to use this switch to cut the power to this switch. So with this off, I can push this any way I want and it's just going to stay there. The winch isn't going to do anything. With it on, I'll have control of the winch. That's the switches. Obviously we're going to need some wires to go to these switches, and you probably need some kind of wiring diagram for your winch. Now the winch I'm using is this Rugged Ridge 9,500 pound winch. In here you'll find the wiring diagram for this winch. So you can see here you have your solenoid box, you got your winch motor. This I'm assuming is the remote. It doesn't really say, but that kind of looks like a switch there. And you got the socket that mounts to the box that this solenoid is in. This is telling me that this yellow and green wire is in the center of the switch right here. So if we follow that line back, so you got pin 5 comes around, is yellow and green, goes to, it looks like the positive side of the solenoid. So this momentary switch is switching the positive side of the solenoid from, it looks like, the brown wire and the blue wire. So this switch is going to take place of these three wires right here. You can see those wires in the diagram. You got the yellow and green, the blue and the brown. And those just connect to this connector right here. So these should be the three wires that we need to tap into. And we can confirm that with a tool that I got. This is a power probe. Basically it's used to apply positive and ground to really any circuit you touch this tip to. So what you can do with this, so the red was matched up to the yellow and green. So what we can do now, put our probe on that center pin, which is the green one. The green one should be in. We get a little green light up here on the power probe that says it's connected to ground. But if I hit the positive here, you can hear the winch working. And that's reeling it in. Now if we wanted to reel it out, just put it on the other terminal there and add power to that. Just like that. I don't want to lose the functionality of this connector here because I still want to be able to use my remote, and I still want to be able to disconnect it from here in case I ever have to take this off. But what I need to do is somehow attach these 6 wires to 3 more wires and make them so I can disconnect them. Okay, so let's draw out how this is gonna work. We got our winch power and we have our winch in and out switches. From our winch, we've got 3 different wires coming out. We got the blue. We're gonna use green here because I don't have a brown marker. And we got red. So we got blue, brown, and red coming out of the winch. So we found out that red is our power. So that's the one line that we want to bring over to our winch switch. And from that, we're going to feed it into this switch. The blue and the brown are going to go straight to this switch because we don't need to interrupt them. Because all this switch is doing is taking the power from this line here and adding it to these two. So what else we need is actually a ground. Let's say this is our ground over here. We need a ground for these switches because they actually have LEDs in them. So we got a ground for this, and we got a ground for this. That's pretty much it. So we have to run 3 new wires from the winch to these switches. Seems easy enough, right? So I don't have the correct colors to what's actually inside the winch solenoid. I just wound up some red, black, and white. We'll use red for the positive, I guess black for blue, and white for green, or brown, whichever one it was. Now that we've got our wiring sorted out for our switches, I gotta find a place to mount them. So I'm thinking this is the kind of left trim piece right by the steering wheel. I'm thinking about putting these switches right here, obviously right side up. 1, 2. The only problem is how deep this thing is. It won't really fit behind the inner structure of the dash, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, in the Jeep, that piece kind of covers this area right next to the steering wheel here. So that flange on that piece lays right here and bolts in. So where the switches are is going to be like right here. So I'm thinking I got to cut most of this away to get the switches in. I can't really see in behind it. It doesn't seem like there's anything behind this piece, like directly. There might be some wires back here that we'll miss. So I'm just gonna cut this area out and see what we get. Never mind this little gouge here. It's looking good. All right, got our two switches. Let's see if they work. Power on. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. They're both lit up. The winch in light is off because before this video I decided to take the switch apart. There's 4 springs in each corner that ground the LEDs. Well, when I took this off, I lost one of those springs. So that's why that light doesn't work. The other ones work. So winch in. That works. And that works. Yay! Show you guys what I got going on here. So we got just a ground cable for the LEDs. And you got the 3 wires from the winch. Red is our positive. And black and white are the in and out. So the ground comes into the winch switch on pin 7 and jumps to pin 8, and also pin 7 for our momentary switch. The power from the winch comes to the center pin, pin number 1. With this switch turned on, you get power to these 2 terminals, which are 3 and 6. That power comes over to pin 6, then is jumper to pin 4. 3 and 6 are tied to 6 and 4. These 2 are the LEDs. I wanted this on all the time, so I powered them up all the time, as long as this switch is flipped on. With it flipped off, you know, they don't light. From there, it jumps over to the center pin over here, which is pin 2. That applies power to your in and outs. So, and these 2, they can be switched whichever way works with, you know, your in and out. For my case, that blue wire inside the solenoid box goes to pin 8, and the brown wire, or the green wire, I can't remember which one, the other wire goes to pin 3. So I hope that makes sense. And it works. Perfect. Now I can put it back together. Can you reach that? Okay, good. Yeah, I got it. All right, got her all back together. So let's see if these switches work. Nice. So that's it. Got her all back together and it works. That's good. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.